Okie dokie, welcome to lesson 7. So, in this video we're going to be talking about calorie density. Now, calorie density is basically the amount of calories per gram of food. Some foods contain lots of calories for a very small quantity, so this would mean that they have lots of calories per gram. An example on the right hand side there is Reese's chocolate. They have about 5 calories per gram, which means in 100 grams they're about 500 calories. Then, on the other hand, you have some foods that contain a lot of food for very little calories. So the mass is higher, but the calorie content is very low. An apple is a good example of this. They have just half a calorie per gram, so 100 grams gives you just 52 calories. So when we compare the two, you can see that the Reese's chocolate contains 10 times the amount of calories in the same amount of food. So when your goal is fat loss, it can be useful to focus on eating foods that provide a lot of food in terms of quantity for very few calories, because this is going to leave you feeling fuller for longer as the volume of food you've eaten is higher, even though the calorie content is low. So in this example, you'd have to eat a kilo of apples, which is about 10 apples, to get the same amount of calories as you would from just 100 grams of Reese's chocolates. It's also going to make it easier to stick to your daily nutrition targets and reach your goals. If you're trying to gain muscle, the opposite of this can be true. So eating foods that contains lots of calories in small amounts of food can be useful for hitting higher daily calorie targets without feeling stuffed and bloated. So let's have a look at how calorie density can actually affect a meal. We're going to look at a healthy breakfast on the left hand side. We've got some yogurt, some honey, some blueberries, and a native green drink. So that comes with about 619 calories. Now, if we swap the yogurt for 0% yogurt, it's slightly lower in calories. Then we took out the honey but kept the blueberries. And we swapped the naked greens drink with a bulk powder's green powder as an example. All we've done is swap regular yogurt for 0% yogurt, so a lower calorie option. We've taken the honey out. We've kept the blueberries just the same. And then we've swapped what is quite a high calorie greens drink for a low calorie greens. But it still classes the same breakfast. Which means there's now a 403 calorie difference between these breakfasts. That's how calorie density can actually affect your calorie intake. These are pretty much the same breakfast in terms of amount of food, but the calorie difference is massive. With this breakfast example, you can see how we consumed a similar amount of food, but the second option is taking up less of your daily calorie budget or your daily calorie target. So it's important to look at calorie density. So if your goal is fat loss, like I mentioned earlier, it's good to focus on calorie-sparse foods, foods that have a low number of calories per gram. This is going to allow you to eat more while keeping your calorie consumption low. So fat loss equals focus on calorie-sparse food. Now, if muscle gain is your goal, it can be useful to focus on foods that are calorie dense. These are foods that have more or a high number of calories per gram. This means if you have a high calorie target that sometimes might be difficult to reach, this is going to make it easier for you to reach that target without feeling stuffed and bloated like you're overeating all the time. So there you can see the importance of not only calories, but calorie density. It's always useful to check how much food you're getting for the amount of calories you're about to consume. This can have a huge effect on whether you succeed or not.